There was a time when Japanese custom bikes started to challenge American dominance, and Suzuki responded with something serious. The Intruder, a motorcycle with a rebellious soul, low-slung binds, an engine full of character, and a presence that never went unnoticed. It wasn't just another cruiser. It was proof that Japan could also build machines with attitude. Today, we're going to relive the story of the Suzuki Intruder, the bike that took the Japanese custom spirit to another level. In the early 80s, the custom motorcycle market had an undisputed king, Harley-Davidson. In the United States, when someone thought of a long, low bike with a V-twin engine, they automatically thought of Harley. It was a cultural thing. Custom bikes represented freedom, the open road, and a rebellious spirit. These bikes have one thing clear: lots of style, lots of torque, lots of character. They were machines meant more to felt than analyzed. Big engines, deep sound, lots of chrome parts, and a relaxed riding position that invited you to cruise down the highway without a care. But they also had several problems: strong vibrations, oil leaks, components that needed frequent adjustments, and constant maintenance. Harleys from that era could be spectacular, but they also demanded dedication. Many owners knew that having one meant spending time in the garage with tools. For many fans, that was part of the charm. The bike wasn't just a vehicle, it was a relationship. But for many other people, it was nothing more than a headache. Meanwhile, on the other side of the Pacific, Japan was dominating the motorcycle world with a completely different philosophy. Honda, Yamaha, Kawasaki, Suzuki. The Japanese brands were obsessed with something very simple: reliability, engines that always started, precise mechanical tolerances, efficient industrial production, less vibration, less maintenance. Japanese bikes could go thousands of kilometers with just basic servicing, something that for many riders was starting to matter more than mechanical romanticism. And that's when a question came up that would change the custom market forever. What would happen if we combined American style with Japanese engineering? A bike that looked like a classic chopper, but ran with the precision of a Japanese watch. Many thought about it, but Suzuki was one of the first brands to seriously dare to do it. And that's how the story began of one of the most important custom bikes in modern motorcycling, the Suzuki Intruder. In 1985, Suzuki decided to fully enter the most sacred territory of American motorcycling, the world of custom bikes. Up until then, most Japanese motorcycles were known for their performance, technology, and reliability, but not for their rebellious style or chopper looks. That was almost exclusively reserved for Harley-Davidson. But Suzuki had a different idea. They didn't want a custom bike that looked like a Harley. They wanted a custom bike that felt American but worked like a Japanese one. And that's how the Suzuki VS 750 Intruder was born. The name wasn't a coincidence either. Intruder means intruder. It was a direct declaration of war. Suzuki was entering the territory of American cruisers and had no intention of asking for permission. It featured a 45-degree angle V-twin engine, a displacement of 747 cubic centimeters with a liquid cooling system, 2 Mikuni carburetors, a reliable shaft final drive, and an output of about 55 horsepower. Strong torque at low RPMs. But beyond the numbers, what was really interesting was the combination of concepts. While many traditional customs still used air-cooled engines and relatively simple technology, Suzuki introduced liquid cooling, something uncommon in the custom segment at the time. That meant a more efficient engine, more thermally stable, and more durable. And on top of that, the shaft drive eliminated one of the classic problems of chain-driven bikes: constant maintenance. It was a bike designed to rack up miles without complications. But what really defined the Intruder wasn't just its engineering, it was its visual attitude. The bike had everything the custom scene called for. Big front wheel, long fork, relaxed riding position, sleek tank, low seat, and plenty of chrome. Suzuki designed the bike with proportions very similar to American choppers, creating a long, low silhouette that instantly conveyed style and presence. It looked like a bike straight out of an American movie, a machine made to ride endless highways under the sun. But under the tank, there was something completely different from what many expected. There was Japanese engineering, a motor that started easily, ran smoothly, with less vibration and fewer mechanical problems. A custom bike that always started, and that detail, seemingly simple, changed the game. Because suddenly, riders could have the rebellious style of a chopper without the mechanical headaches that often came with them. The Intruder wasn't just a new bike, it was the beginning of a new philosophy in the custom world. When Suzuki first introduced the brand new Intruder 750 in 1985, the overall impact on the market was immediate. It wasn't just a Japanese custom bike, it was a custom that openly imitated the American chopper aesthetic. Long fork, big front wheel, sleek tank, visible V-twin engine, and a relaxed riding position that really resembled certain Harley-Davidsons of the time. And Harley-Davidson was not happy about it, not at all. Back then, Harley was going through a rough patch. It had survived the crisis of the 70s and was trying to reclaim its identity in the face of the flood of Japanese motorcycles dominating the global market. Custom bikes were their last sacred ground, their final cultural stronghold. And suddenly, Suzuki showed up, a Japanese brand offering a bike that looked like a Harley, but always started, vibrated less, and needed less maintenance. For Harley, that was a direct threat. The controversy exploded quickly because the Suzuki Intruder 750 looked way too much like certain Harley chopper-style models, especially in the proportions between the front wheel, wheelbase, and tank line. Way too much. Harley-Davidson didn't sue Suzuki in court. Instead, they went to complain to the U.S. government, claiming that Japanese manufacturers were flooding the market with cheap bikes, dumping. The result was that President Ronald Reagan imposed a 45% tariff on imported motorcycles over 700 cubic centimeters. Suzuki and other brands responded by reducing the engine size of their models from 750 to exactly 699 cubic centimeters to avoid the tax. That's how the Suzuki Intruder 700 was born, and later the 800. They had new design details and small mechanical improvements that made them even more refined. But by that point, it was already too late to stop the phenomenon. The Intruder had already proven something that the market was starting to notice more and more. That a cruiser could have classic style, a V-twin engine, a rebellious attitude, and still be reliable and easy to live with every day. A cruiser could be dependable, and that idea was much more dangerous for Harley than any lawsuit. The Suzuki Intruder 800 quickly became one of the most popular cruiser motorcycles on the planet. When it came out, Suzuki had learned from the legal issues with Harley-Davidson and decided to redesign certain aesthetic elements of the original Intruder. The final result was a custom bike that kept all of that long, low, and imposing chopper essence, but it featured his very own unique design that would eventually go on to become a true classic. The engine was one of the main highlights. It wasn't designed for speed or for chasing high revs. It was designed for something much more important in a cruiser: strong, low-end torque. All it took was a gentle twist of the throttle to feel that steady, relaxed pull that made the bike perfect for long rides or leisurely cruises. In countries across Latin America, Europe, and the United States, the Intruder 800 became extremely popular. It was a bike that offered the rebellious style of the custom world, but with the peace of mind of knowing the engine would always run. Many motorcyclists who dreamed of owning a chopper discovered they could have a bike with presence, sound, and attitude without giving up reliability. In the late 90s and early 2000s, Suzuki decided to evolve the platform. That's how new lines were born. Suzuki Boulevard in the United States, Intruder M800, Intruder M1800R. The M1800R was especially striking, a brutal power cruiser. A 1,783 cubic centimeter engine, electronic fuel injection, and a gigantic rear tire. It was a custom bike, but with the attitude of a muscle bike, an intruder that could scare superbikes at stoplights. The Suzuki Intruder M1800R was introduced by Suzuki in 2006, and from the very beginning, it made it clear that it wasn't a traditional cruiser. While many bikes in the segment aim for a classic style inspired by old American choppers, Suzuki decided to create something different, a cruiser with aggressive looks and brutal power. In some markets, it was sold under a different name, Suzuki Boulevard M109R, but it was exactly the same machine. The heart of the 1800R is a massive V-twin engine with 1,783 cubic centimeters, one of the largest Suzuki has ever put in a production motorcycle. This engine delivers approximately 125 horsepower and over 160 Newton-meters of torque. The idea wasn't to reach extreme speeds like a superbike, but to offer very strong acceleration from low revs, something that fit perfectly with the muscle cruiser concept. The Suzuki Intruder never tried to be a Harley. It never tried to completely copy Harley-Davidson's history because that story had already been written decades ago. A story made of endless highways in the United States, a motorcycle culture, a rebellion, and a bikes that became symbols of freedom. Suzuki knew this perfectly well. They knew that competing against that cultural tradition was practically impossible. But instead of trying to replace it, they decided to do something much more interesting, reinterpret it. Take the visual spirit of American choppers and combine it with something Japan knew how to do better than anyone, engineering. The Intruder proved something that in the 80s seemed almost like a contradiction, that a custom bike didn't have to be complicated to enjoy it. It didn't have to vibrate excessively, didn't have to require constant maintenance, or turn into a temperamental machine. It could be something different. It could be a beautiful, comfortable bike with presence on the road, but at the same time, reliable. A bike that simply started up. A bike that worked every day. And even though today that might sound normal, at the time it was actually a pretty revolutionary idea in the cruiser world. Maybe the Intruder didn't have Harley's long history, didn't have decades of tradition or the cultural weight of American bikes, but it had something that ended up being just as important for many riders. It worked. It was a bike you could use without constantly worrying if something was gonna break. A bike designed to enjoy the open road, not to spend more time in the garage than on the pavement. Because in the end, not every bike is born to become a legend full of mythology. Not all of them are meant to be untouchable icons in museums or collector's items that only come out on Sundays. Some bikes are born for something much harder. To be the bike people use every day. The one that starts up early in the morning to go to work. The one that joins you on long road trips. The one that becomes your companion for thousands of miles. And the Suzuki Intruder did exactly that. It took the visual spirit of American choppers, mixed it with Japanese engineering, reliability, and practicality, and created one of the most beloved sagas in modern motorcycling. For decades, thousands of motorcyclists around the world found in the Intruder a cruiser that offered style without complications. Because sometimes the most important revolutions don't come with the most noise. They don't always come with exaggerated numbers or flashy headlines. Sometimes the real revolution is much simpler. A bike that starts up every morning. And if you want to learn about other muscle bikes, click on this video.